Welcome to Understanding and Adapting Life. Webinars and podcasts focusing on many ways we can live a fuller life by adapting and accommodating for issues, difficulties, and challenges we experience in our daily lives. Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Lapriziosa, and I'm an occupational therapist and a team lead for Adaptations for Living with Networks for Training and Development. Today is the first in our series of conversations regarding accessibility. And first off, we're going to start with the bathroom because that's a pretty important room. So Rosa is graciously going to take us on a tour of her bathroom and share some ideas. And our coworker Diane is also going to share some of her ideas. So let's get started.
Righty. Hi, everybody. This is Rosa McAllister. And I am thrilled to be here and to talk about the bathroom of all things. Truth be told, this series that we're starting around our homes and ways that we can adapt and accommodate our homes, we've been talking about doing this for a long time, this series, and we're finally getting around to it. And as we talked about it in-house at Networks, the first thing that we decided is that we should start with the bathroom because the bathroom really is just that important. But I'm going to, as Tracy mentioned, take you on a tour of my bathroom in my home, and I'll switch devices in order to do that. So yeah, the bathroom, it's kind of an essential place. We all need to have the bathroom handy for us. And isn't it fun to kind of think back, like, I don't know about you, but I was the youngest of a very large family. And in my house, it's not like we had a whole bunch of bathrooms and powder rooms and all that other kind of stuff. It was, shared by how many people? Diane, Tracy?
One bathroom.
One bathroom. How many people?
5.
Yeah.
And
Tracy?
it was small.
It was small. Tracy?
Yeah, 4 people.
Yeah. And that's how many of us grew up, with one bathroom. And it was just kind of like the functional space. Like, how many of us have memories of either somebody banging on the door, it's my turn, or let me in, or you've been in there too long, or whatever. I remember as a teenager, all the grooming and preening and silly stuff that I was doing. I remember needing to do it in my bedroom, even though I really would have preferred to do it in the bathroom because there really wasn't the space and there was a lineup of people needing to use it as well. And boy, have times changed. I mean, I live in a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, but it's just me. I mean, how many of us live in a household with just one bathroom? Most people have at least a powder room. And then, I don't know about you, I'm an HGTV fan. And I mean, en suites, how many? And now we have a whole separate word and an expectation that there's going to be a private spa-like bathroom right connected to our master bedroom. Our parents sure didn't have that. We didn't have that. So bathrooms, boy, have they come a long way, baby. In a very functional space, basic colors, basic whatever, to spa-like experiences now. So that's all great. And that's interesting, isn't it? But it becomes even more of an interesting topic when we talk about the ways in which we all need to use the bathrooms, our bathrooms, and we're not going to go into all those details, believe me. But thinking about mobility, sensory, emotional, other issues and concerns that people have about using the bathroom. So this became very, very poignant for me as my mother got older. And I'm going to share more of my mom and her story with you in just a little bit. But right now, just thinking about this idea of different sizes and shapes and mobility and sensory and things that we all have, our needs, the bathroom becomes a very essential place. So when I moved into my home 12 years ago, officially, I wanted to do some rehab redos to make this more my place, to be perfectly honest. And the very first place, very first room, very first thing I wanted to redo a bit was my bathroom. So I had the luxury, if you will, of kind of redoing a space. I didn't tear out any walls. I didn't do any of that big stuff. Actually, I kind of did tear out a wall. But anyway, most of what I did was kind of cosmetic, but I did it with one single idea in mind, which stretched into two ideas. And it was the idea that I was hoping that I was going to live in my home, my new home here, for a long time. And I'm not a young spring chicken anymore, as they say. So it would be necessary, if I was to stay in this home, this condo, that I make it as user-friendly as I can for myself for my future years, not just for today, but for future years as I get older, because I hope to still stay here. That was my primary motive. My second motive was I have a lot of friends who live elsewhere that I would love to come visit me, and was making new friends here. And not all of them move in the same way or have the same needs that I do. So I wanted to make sure that my home was as user-friendly as possible to any visitors that I might have as well, keeping that in mind. And since I've been part of networks for a really long time, and one of the things we always try to focus on is building something right from the start, if you can, not having to go back in and retrofit, but build something right from the start. I immediately was thinking about accessibility. But I didn't have all the money in the world. So, and I didn't have all the space in the world. So what could I do? So I'm going to switch gears here to my phone and take you for a little walk. Magic of science. Can you? So this is the entrance to my not very spacious condo. One of the things I tried to do is make sure that my doorways were wide enough that could handle someone who might be in a standard wheelchair. So it's a little narrow, but it's just big enough. And coming from there, you might notice there is a throw rug, which I would get rid of that, but otherwise I have hardwood floors because it's very easy for people to mobilize and to get around on hard surface flooring. So if you come from my doorway, I won't show you the entire expanse of my place, but coming right across here are 2 bedrooms. Now they have standard doors and they're closed because I'm in the middle of packing to go on a trip. So you're not going to get to see my mess. But anyway, there's a tight corner here because we're going to turn and go into the bathroom. But I borrowed a wheelchair to make sure that it is wide enough. And I did widen the doorway just a little bit here. Standard doors, they're wide enough, tight, but wide enough for a wheelchair to get through where somebody using that. The turn is like so, and then something interesting is going to happen. Here's my bathroom. And you might notice that a light came on. So I have underneath my cabinet in my bathroom for myself and for anybody else, it's a motion sensitive light that just sticks on underneath. It's actually a magnetic strip. A friend had one who I was visiting and I thought, that's amazing. I have a little bit of a lip of a threshold going in, but not much of anything, and onto tile floors. And now I'm going to turn on the regular lights. So here's my bathroom. So it was 2 separate rooms, as is typical in many Asian cultures and countries. And the wall that I mentioned, I did take down a wall, was a little wall right here. So you would enter previously, and previously there was a regular door that would swing out, but that's not accessible. So I created a pocket door. A pocket door, if you're not familiar, is different than a standard door. First of all, there's no doorknob. Second of all, instead of the door swinging open one way or another, the door slides in to the wall. And it becomes totally open. There's no hinges or anything. So it allows for a very wide area. And I did this because I had doors slamming into doors or doors going into cabinets, and it just wasn't working. So that's the first thing that I did. Didn't even have to reopen or expand the opening of the doorway, just created a pocket door. I have a tile floor. I made sure that it is very non-slip because wet tile is not a good thing for any of us. But so there's different ratings for non-slip. I kept my old vanity.
I did a different top on it, but the vanity itself is quite old. I just painted it, put little cute knobs on it. And the reason I did this was twofold. One is because I'm pretty tall. So this is at not even hip height for me. I normally would want a vanity much higher, but this works for little kids like my grandkids, as well as for friends or others who might be using a wheelchair or who are shorter. The other reason I kept this vanity is because there's no center bar. And so I've had friends in wheelchairs be able to use this because they can slide right up and put their knees kind of underneath or even into the under cabinet itself. The other thing is I have 2 grandkids, and when they were little, in order to reach, they could just stand on the inside here and be able to raise up. So the other thing that I got was a stool. It's just a little plastic stool. And my grandkids would always stand on that, and it would give them a little bit more height to be able to deal with things on the counter, etc. But even with that, even with standing on the inside of the cabinet or the stool, my grandkids initially weren't able to reach the faucets. And please notice these are not knob faucets because they're very hard for many of us to use. If you have arthritis or any kind of difficulty with grip, plus when they're wet, they're harder. So the paddle style or lever style handles in bathrooms they're really plentiful. Most people, I think, are using them nowadays, or it seems to be that way, and much more accessible. But again, when my grandkids were little and they couldn't necessarily reach, we used the old kitchen tongs that I always just keep in the drawer here in case anybody needs it. Because with the kitchen tongs, you could just grab and pull or push and turn on and turn off the water that way. And my grandkids used to love to even be able to raise and lower the stopper. They play with that a lot. So just simple tongs or something like that could be used. I'm going to take you over here. Basic toilet, right? Now this is a raised toilet. I did this for 2 reasons. 1, because I'm very tall, and 2, because in my experience, the majority of people who have mobility differences need a higher toilet in order to get on and off of it, as well as when we get older, squatting is much harder. So a lower toilet is very hard to get off of. Whereas for most people, a higher toilet is such. So I went with this style. I also went with the oval style because it's more accommodating for different body types, if you will. Larger people can fit on that much better than the regular circular one. And nowadays, my grandkids are much older. They don't need this. But nowadays, that is my squatty potty, which you may or may not be familiar with. So a squatty potty is something that usually it's marketed, and believe it or not, yes, it's called that. It can be used, it can slide out, whatever. It's something that we just put our feet on as we're sitting to elevate and to put the body in a more natural position for bowel movements, to be honest, for more efficient and effective bowel movements. So my little blue stool, which was originally for the kids to help them get better access to the faucets and stuff like that at the sink, now has become my squatty potty. And it just resides over there. Now, notice that I don't have any grab bars. It's kind of a small space here, but what I do have is I adhered the toilet paper to the wall of the cabinet, which we tiled. And the reason that we did the tiling, to be honest, and we positioned this here, we tried a number of different things, is that it can be used actually as a bit of a grab bar. It's that secure. So the toilet paper itself could come off and just rest up here or something else. And this in itself just becomes a handle almost, or a lever that someone could grab onto in order to help them to gain support to get on and off the toilet. We did this on the tiling because we adhered it really strongly to the side of the cabinet and then did the tiling around it to make it even more secure. So that is not going anywhere. And then here's my shower.
I noticed that your toilet has the flusher button
It
on the top of the
does.
tank. And I think they're easier to use because you can use an open hand as opposed to having to
You
stand up
can.
and lean around the side to do a lever.
That is correct, Tracy. Thank you. Yeah, so it's the dual flush mode. So one is the standard one, and you probably can't see it, but it is raised. It's raised pretty much. So you could, even just with the heel of your hand or whatever. The larger area, and I don't know if you can see it, it has raised buttons too. Can you see that?
Yes.
So you can feel that. That's for, I'm just going to say it's for number one, for your minimal flush. And the inset blue, which has different buttons on it, little raised buttons on it, and is inset, you can feel the difference. That's for a heftier flush, shall we say, for number two. Yes, you're absolutely right. I did not want to go with the lever style because for many of us, while seated or even standing, it's very precarious. It's hard to reach, whereas this is right here. And I went with this style because it is more raised. So yeah, thanks. So back to my shower. So originally, again, I'm backing up here. Originally, this room was separated here, and it was the toilet and shower room, which got very steamy, and there's no windows in here or anything. And I wanted to just open it up again for comfort, but also for functionality and for accessibility. So I took out the tub, even though I love a good bathtub and a good soak. I took it out. But what I did is I created, and I'm not sure if you can see, there's a lip here, but it's not that big. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches, which can make a difference and could be hard for someone. I acknowledge that. But I did this and I just made the shower with a bench seating that wraps around, etc. Okay, it's all tile, very easy, non-slip. You might notice too that the floor and the seat and the wall, the tile is all a little different, so that someone with a little visual issue might be able to discriminate the difference between the floor and the seat and the wall. Some bathrooms, bathtubs, showers that you see are absolutely beautiful, and they're all one style, one material, which is great. But for anybody with any kind of perceptual or other difference, it might be problematic. So this was very purposeful that we did it this way. All matches, but all a little different. And I forgot to bring with me, my apologies, I have 2 suction cup things that kind of posts that can go on the floor, one here, one there. You can position them anywhere. And with them, they're very sturdy. They have a big ball at the top, a big knob. I'll see if I can find a website with them. I have 2 of those in my storage unit. So in case somebody needs some additional bar or something to grab in order to help them in and out for transferring, they can do that. I did consider putting a bar here, a grab bar here, but I was concerned with myself whacking it, my hip coming in and out of the shower, or it visually appearing to be in the way. So I did not do it. And being tall, I'm able to put a towel rack up higher. For somebody who might be visiting, we can hang a towel from here or whatever. And you might also see I have my long-handled scrub brush. I have a couple of other things that people can use to reach different body parts as well. Anyway, the seat here, the bank seating here, is big enough that somebody can transfer, say, from a wheelchair here and transfer, see if I can pivot, can sit down and seated, and then either lift or bring legs in, and then can shift. So I'm seated here. Yes, I'm in shorts. It's Maui. And here I am. can close it off. And I went with glass doors. Shower curtains are very, very dangerous. People oftentimes will use shower curtains and pull on them if they start to slip, and they can really get hurt. They can yank them down. They are not stable enough. So the glass doors, I went with this, and they are wide enough. It's kind of a small area, but nonetheless wide enough to allow for people to get in and out. I did not go with a handheld shower. I went with a standard kind of a rain shower type of shower head. And the reason I did not go with a handheld is because there are difficulties with people yanking on them. And again, trying to use them almost as a stability device, kind of like the shower curtain. And they can drop on you and various things. So until I find one that really is more stable, more sturdy, etc., I'm going with my rain shower. And you can angle it at various positions so that it can get you nice and wet as you're sitting here on the bench seat. The other fun thing, and I have my doodads and stuff up there, but any of them can sit along the ledge here for somebody who needs that. The other nice thing is if I were to close that pocket door and not turn on the fan and close this up, this becomes a steam room, and it becomes truly like a spa with the hot water, everything, because without ventilation and with the door closed, it entirely steams up really quick. And I've even used, because there is the little bit of a lip here, I can even put a stopper on the drain there, and this can fill up, and I can have an almost bathtub, a little bit of a soaking area. Certainly wouldn't be accessible for others, but it is for me, at least for now. So I think that's it with the bathroom. The other thing that I would mention is about a bathroom. The other thing that I think I would mention about the bathroom is I made my bathroom cute because it's mine. My friend Ken, when he was about to do the renovations to my bathroom, I remember him asking me, "What's the theme, Rosa?" And I said, "Beachy and whimsical." And so that's what he did. So it's not accessibility stuff, but I have little tchotchkes and other fun things around my bathroom that kind of are inspirational and remind me of who I am and this life that I live and where I am here in Maui. I also have, I forgot about this previously, I have little messages to myself. So when I open my mirror, I have one that says, "Lack of passion is fatal," and "Find your light." And the truth always creates an opening. So I change these messages out for myself every now and then so that I have kind of inspiration when I look in the mirror. Other little inspirational thing. One other thing that I forgot to mention is I have a towel ring here, just a standard towel ring. But when I have people here, I learned this with my grandkids, when I have people here who maybe are not great with getting a hold of things, or are shorter, or have sensory issues or mobility issues or something like that, instead of using the towel ring, I have a little loop and I hang it, and this way somebody can just dry their hands much easier rather than fumbling with a towel on a towel ring. So that's my bathroom. Any questions or comments, Tracy or Diane?
I can see that you put a lot of thought into each particular area of the bathroom, which is really what you have to do when you're looking to update or adapt to make sure that it's comfortable. And I like that. I really love the pocket door. I really love that idea. Not everyone has the ability to make a pocket door depending on what's next to it.
Right.
If you do have that ability, I think it's a great solution. Space saver for anyone, really.
Yeah, you were talking about the height of your toilet, and I know some folks listening may be in congregate settings or where more than one person is using a bathroom. I know we ran into that. My mom was 5'1", and my father was 5'8". And mom wanted a short one. So we were struggling with that. So we found a toilet that would be good for her. And we found a seat that could go on top of the toilet for when my dad used it, so that it was a balance for the two of them.
I will say, just to take it back with my bathroom, I was going to redo it anyway because it was really pretty gruesome. It was like from the 1960s and blah. So I really needed, and the tub was leaking. And I mean, I needed to redo the bathroom anyway. But the accommodations that I made were not, I mean, the shower, my friend Ken helped to do the renovations, and I told him some basic stuff and he's like, okay, let me scope this out. And he built it. It was not horribly expensive to redo the whole bathroom. Probably the most expensive part was taking out that wall. The pocket door, you're right, Tracy. Oh, I wish I could do pocket doors on my bedrooms too, but I don't have the wall space because it's small and I have closets there that it would interfere with. But pocket doors are amazing, amazing whenever you use them. And again, Diane, yeah, I'm the only one in here. So I made the accommodations that I would want and that I thought would probably work for me in the future. And then with some other ones, I kind of went with kind of what the survey says is the best for the majority of people, which is what I know you and I talk about this all the time. When you make accommodations, when you make adaptations, even when you build something from scratch, you're not going to be able to make it perfect for everybody, but you try to do the best you can for the majority of people. What the survey says works best for the majority. And then you make adaptations from there, like the grabber things, what are the tongs? I was sitting around for the kids. I wanted the kids to be independent in the bathroom. And both Olivia and Ethan, I will say, were pretty independent in my bathroom from the time they were very, very little, because we made some simple accommodations, very simple.
And there are such a variety of things. And I know you're going to be talking about that with your mom stuff. There are so many variations of things that when you're in a bathroom, there's a lot you can do to make it work for a variety of people.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to look sterile, and it doesn't have
to look like a hospital.
Exactly. And just to bring that up, I mentioned a little bit about, my friend Ken asking me what were my themes for my bathroom, which cracked me up. But, he was thinking about, in all honesty, I had just moved here and I had been through a pretty traumatic event. And he knew that my bathroom was going to be my sanctuary, my safe place, and my whole place. And it was the first room that I was really putting a stamp on of Rosa. Bless his heart, he took that into account in helping to pick the colors. And it was his idea to put the glass shelves up with little doodads and stuff like that. And he left me fun little things. But I mean, that really helps with somebody too. And particularly, I'll talk a little bit more about my mom, but this not having to be sterile and having to be comfortable. For a lot of people, I work with some women who have lived with some pretty extensive abuse and or trauma. And a bathroom is not always a safe place for women or for anybody who have a history like that. And going into a public place or a stranger's bathroom, I know some people that avoid that more than anything because it doesn't feel safe and because it can trigger all kinds of things. So whatever we can do to help someone and help our bathrooms be as spa-like and as comforting, that the themes, like Ken asked me, if you're helping somebody else with their private bathroom, why not ask them what's their theme or what would they really like in there? Or what colors and what will they use the bathroom for other than basic functions, if you will. And then using public spaces, what can we carry with ourselves? What can we bring with us to help make a bathroom more accessible, but also more comfortable and more okay and less traumatic? I know a lot of people, my mom included, going out into the world revolved around what the bathroom was like. And I would sometimes have to go first and scout it out to a restaurant or whatever to try to see. And that was mostly around accessibility. What could we do? What could we bring? What could we, whatever for somebody?
I know we had some conversation about, we were talking about toilet seats, how there are some raised toilet seats that are trim enough and comfortable enough, as lightweight molded plastic that you can put them in a tote bag and you can carry them with you and nobody really needs to know what's in your tote bag, and you go into the bathroom and you can use it. And, I know I have an aunt who would come to visit me and would always bring her raised toilet seat in her tote bag. And when she went to the bathroom, she'd just take it in with her, went in with her walker and was able to use it and feel comfortable and not have to have somebody come in and help her get up from a super low toilet.
When my niece's little ones were little, we found a toilet seat that had an inset in the lid, and the inset was the child seat. And you just flip that inset down, and that was the
Oh.
child seat. So they didn't need to have this big, special, clumsy child potty seat. It's like, well, I'm a big girl or big boy. I want to use this toilet. Well, you just pull down that inset, and then when they're done, it goes back up and it's all good.
I've seen that. It's
Yeah.
ingenious. They even have hydraulic, very expensive, but hydraulic toilets that can raise or lower to a different height. They have bidets and totos. In Japan, they've had for years, totos. The early days of the pandemic, when there was the toilet paper scare, do you know stores were selling out of bidets and adapted bidet seats for your toilets? Cleanse yourself in that way without having to use toilet paper, all kinds of different things. There's warmers for toilets. When little kids are learning how to use, there's targets you can put in the toilet for boys.
And I know we had recently a Secret Santa, cutthroat Santa thing, and one of the things we got was this light up thing that you put it in the toilet and it changes the color of the toilet and it's motion sensitive. But it's also kind of cool too, because when you're in the middle of the night, you don't have to worry. You just walk by, it pops on, and the kids look at it and say, "So what colors does it do?"
It makes the bathroom not just a functional room, but it makes it yours and it makes it okay. And why not have some fun? Why not be whimsical in your bathroom? Why not? And if you need to bring something like that with you, like Tracy, like your aunt carrying the adapted toilet seat, whatever it is. I remember when my son was little, I had a plastic cover kind of thing that fit over the toilet seat because he didn't like the sensation of sitting on toilet paper. And I was one of those moms, no, we have to put the toilet paper down first, So, okay, I'm going to move us along if that's okay. And I'm going to show you, share screen, a little background. So this is a video. I'm just going to show you a little clip of it. A video taken a number of years ago now, probably about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit more, of my mother's bathroom and the accommodations that we made at her apartment. And this is part of a longer whole session that we have available if you ever want to see it. It's called Mom and Her AT. And what we did, my mom, as she was getting older, she had many different things that she dealt with, sweet, amazing soul that she was. She had very severe osteoporosis. She had that dowager's hump kind of thing where you are bent over, and she had many compression fractures in her spine. It caused her great pain, and it caused her to not be able to walk very well and hunched over in such a way. So she had to really try to lift her neck to look even forward, and it was very painful. So she used a cane, and then she used a walker, and eventually she used a wheelchair. Also, as if that wasn't bad enough, my mom also had pretty significant macular degeneration, which is a disease of the eyes. And there are two different varieties of macular degeneration. And even though she had what's known as dry macular degeneration, which is thought to be much less severe, my mother's case was very, very severe. With macular degeneration, you lose the central core of your vision and you still have the periphery. But as my mother would say, I would say to her, try not to look at the thing, but look at it. She'd be like, what? And if you tried to look at something, you wouldn't see the center of it. You might see like things around, but you wouldn't see the center. It was very, very hard for her. She was legally blind and actually almost completely blind in one eye and legally blind in the others. So that just added to her mobility issues. And then because of the osteoporosis and other things, my mom had a couple of strokes. And because of the strokes, she lost sensation. She had neuropathy. She lost sensation in her fingers and also her feet, which was very, very dangerous because she could bump into things or cut herself or do things and not even be aware, or burn, etc. So my mom lived in an assisted living situation, and then she moved from there. she was kind of coming to her end. And so she moved to a nursing home. And she was very, very unhappy in the nursing home, even though the people were lovely. And I finally was able to convince her that for not very much money, we could adapt a regular apartment if we found the right apartment for her. And she could live in that, and she could have help come in and help her out. And so my mom in her last years moved from the nursing home into her own apartment. And the apartment had carpeting. So the first thing we did is we tore up the carpeting, and it had beautiful parquet floors underneath. My mom would be very alarmed with me at this point because we didn't vacuum before I took this, and there's some smudges and dirt on the floor. So please ignore that. Anyway, we did a couple of other things. So this is a tour of my mom's bathroom that I'm going to show you. The first thing we did is we took the door off the hinges. You can see there are 3 brown dots kind of on the door frame on the bottom left. That's where the hinge used to be. We just took it off because it was the bathroom that my mom used primarily. It was right off her bedroom. Nobody else used it. But I'm going to play this for you.
My mom moved to a beautiful apartment in Willow Grove. And one of the first things we did is we asked permission. We found out that underneath the carpeting was parquet wood floors, which is what my mom was used to at her beautiful apartment with Angie in Center City, Philadelphia. So we were able to remove the carpets with the agreement that whenever my mother might move, we would reinstall carpeting. We did this because we knew at this point that she needed to use her walker 100% of the time, and the walker just moved better. My mother being so small, didn't have much strength, and again, she was more and more bent over. And so we needed just a stable surface to glide across. And so the parquet floors were perfect for her. The bathroom and the kitchen, however, had a raised lip, a marble, very pretty lip of threshold, and then tiling inside. So this is the entranceway to my mother's bathroom. You might notice there's some debris here because on the floor, it wasn't dirty. Well, it was dirty because we had just removed the door because my mother didn't need a door. The bathroom was right off her bedroom. She was the only one going to be using it. And she didn't need to be dealing with the door opening and closing with her walker. So we just took the door off the hinges and she was fine with that. And then if you notice on the ground, there's something interesting and maybe a little unusual. There's red electrical tape, 2 stripes of it on the threshold. So walking through and testing my mom with her walker in her new apartment, again, anytime anybody makes changes, it throws them for a loop, kind of like my Aunt Jean moving out of their beautiful apartment into the assisted living. It's pulling the rug out from under her. All her routines and everything were new. Everything was different. We were really concerned with my mom that she might be falling or not be able to, ambulate, move well throughout the place. And these were raised surfaces now because there had been carpeting and now there wasn't. So these thresholds into the kitchen and into the bathroom in particular were, I saw as problematic. And again, foreground background with my mother's visual issues. The brown wooden floor, she might be able to see the difference with the white marble threshold. But going into the bathroom was a white and beige checkered pattern that my mother could not tell the difference. And we were concerned coming out of the bathroom, my mother would trip on the threshold. So because the red had worked previously, I went through the place with my mom and tried just to see if this might help. First, would she even tolerate this? Which she did because it worked. So I put a red stripe on any area of her apartment that she needed to step up or over, or there was a change in the level of the flooring. And my mother got to the point, she said, oh, like a stop sign. She would get to the point, she would come up to the threshold, and then when she see the red line, she would lift the front of her walker up and over the threshold. She did it on both sides. And as you can see it on the other side, coming out of the bathroom, you can see on the tape, there's even a little crinkle, which is where one of her little skis on her walker would catch as she was coming off it. But it worked. And how expensive is a roll of red electrical tape from Home Depot? I don't know. $3, $4, I don't know. And how difficult is it to replace when it gets worn? You just tear it up, put another strip down, and it worked. And with that idea, we marked her shower. We took off the shower door. It was a sliding shower door. We just kept the one to keep spray out. We replaced the shower head with a handheld shower. We put a small shower stool in there, seat. We put a brush, one of those brushes for my mom to scrub her back and her various body parts, because she couldn't lift up her foot. She couldn't reach with a washcloth or anything like that, which my mom was accustomed to using. We put red stripe electrical tape where she had to step up and over the threshold of the shower. And you notice we installed 2 grab bars or handles. The one inside the shower is a suction cup one that I found in Bed Bath & Beyond, and also in a seniors catalog. Very strong suction, and I put a red piece of tape around it. Again, for her, this is what I need to pay attention to or grab. Not only step over on the floor, but grab for. And then we installed a stable grab bar coming in and out of the shower that you see that's mounted on the side. And my mom was able to take showers again. You'll see here by the toilet, we tried many different styles of toilet seats with handles. I finally worked out a deal with a local medical supply house. I promised them that we would only practice with my mom fully clothed on the toilet seats, and we'd clean them and all that, because otherwise we were trying out so many different toilet seats to find the right one, like Goldilocks again. And they usually don't let you return toilet seats after you use them. So this is one. It was just a regular toilet seat we found, but underneath the toilet seat was a handle that fit. Otherwise, some of them were too raised up, they were too large, they were too bulky. Some were, I never knew this, some were created for men, some were created for women. This is what worked, just the regular toilet seat, but underneath it was the plastic arms of which that fit around the toilet seat. And this worked for my mom, as long as she also used the larger suction cup grab bar with the red tape around it. I was going to put red tape on the handles of the toilet seat, but my mom said it wasn't necessary because she could feel them. They were right there. And then another great find, my mom, we were finding, was not able to use the light switches. They were too high for her. And so we talked about moving them down to her level. Again, she was much more humped over now, and she would be feeling around for them. And then I found, unbelievably, in another senior catalog, a light switch extension. It's a very cheap little plastic lever. And what it does is it fits on top of a switch plate, as you can see with the screws, and the little switch still hooks in there. And then it just hangs down. And you, as a lever, you either pull it down or push it up, and it moves the switch. It was at the perfect height for my mom. And then we used a little red electrical tape, because otherwise it would have been invisible for my mom. She maybe could have felt it, but this way, with the red electrical tape, as she was walking by, she could actually see it. So you can see in this picture, 2 different light switches. We turned all our light switches into accessible ones like this, adapted ones like this, with the light switch extenders and the red electrical tape, or with the little brass light touch pads that we showed you earlier on her lamps in the living room, or some motion sensitive ones. In the bathroom, we decided to go with motion sensitive because in case she was wet or in case of whatever, it would turn on. We just needed to make sure that the motion sensitive light would stay on. Some of them only stay on for a very brief amount of time, or you have to keep moving. We found ones that would stay on for, I think it was 10 minutes or something like that. And then you'd have to move again after that time if they went off.
So that was my mom's bathroom. And again, if you want to see more from my mom's apartment, the whole apartment, and hear more of her story, we have a whole session called Mom and Her AT. And I will tell you, we outfitted her apartment. It was for under $500, all the accommodations that we made.
Right, I'm going to share my screen. Now, as Rosa showed you, things don't have to be expensive. But for my parents, they had purchased a new home. And they both were up in years. And my dad was using a wheelchair. My mom was using a walker. And before they even came in, we came into the new home. And the bathroom did need to be redone, which is typical. Sometimes they get a lot of use, so they have to be redone. But we said, before they even come in, then let's make it so they're going to be safe. And we were like, shower tub, shower tub. But my mom said, I have not been able to take a bath in a long time. I really don't like showers. I want to be able to take a bath. Well, their bathroom is somewhat small. So we said, well, I don't know. So we found a walk-in tub that was for compact bathrooms. And you could choose which side you had the opening on, because as you can see, her tub is there, and then right over here to the right is the toilet. There's just not a lot of space there. As you see, we installed again the paddles, and we also installed this handheld shower because my mom couldn't reach up to activate a shower, and she really didn't want the shower coming in her face sitting down. She wanted to be able to control that. So we got her the handheld shower. One word of caution I'm going to give you: if you use a handheld shower, the temperature of the water coming out of that handheld shower is different than what is coming out of that faucet. So always check before you use that handheld shower that it's the right temperature. You may have to adjust it. We also, because my dad was using this too, and he did like showers, had the regular shower that he could use, and again had a paddle. But we also had a grab bar. Now, this grab bar is slanted. Some people do not like these because as they go to hold on to them, their hand might slide down the angled grab bar. So it all depends what works for different people. And this worked for my dad. But we also installed, anchored to the wall outside the tub, this grab bar, because you'll notice the towel rod there. And we didn't want someone grabbing a towel rod trying to get in and out of the tub, thinking it was going to support their weight, because this was drywall and it was not really going to support them. So we made sure we had a sturdy rod there. Now, my mom and dad needed a grab bar for the toilet, but they didn't want to have one there all the time. And they did not want to use those clunky metal frames that go around the toilet. They work great for some folks, but my parents wanted their bathroom to look as regular as it could, in their words. This grab bar we found, and what was really nice about it, as you see, it's in an up position because it's not needed. And with a little tug, you can bring that down. And what was really nice about this one is the toilet paper was in there. So mom and dad didn't have to reach for the toilet dispenser. It was right where they could reach it. And that worked for them. And as you can see, this is a little shorter toilet. Another thing is bathrooms, bedrooms all around your house can have sharp edges. So what we did is we found this stuff at Lowe's. It's just this padding for corners, and you cut it and you peel it and you stick it to wherever you want it. And it keeps you from hitting your hip on that very pointy edge of something. I know our hips have had a lot of encounters with our cabinets and tables and all. So this was what we did for my parents for their bathroom. And for them, it worked well. We also redid their second bathroom, and that is just a shower, which my dad sometimes preferred. And we made sure that it was good enough that he could get in and out, and we could seat a small. And we actually didn't use a shower chair here. We actually used a small lawn chair in there, like those white plastic ones in there. And that's what worked best for him. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Sometimes a lawn chair does it, you know. But that's what we found worked for my mom and dad. And as Rosa said, it doesn't have to be expensive. For them, we had to redo the bathroom. So we said, okay, let's do what they wanted to be really particular for them. Tracy?
I agree. A lot of times things don't need to be expensive. And when I worked in the hospital and, we were working with folks who just had total hip replacements, total knee replacements, we did very basic adaptations, like maybe telling them about the lawn chair, but make sure that it's something sturdy. Make sure you have a bath mat so that if it's plastic on the bottom, it's not going to like kick out on you. You want to make sure that you have that non-skid surface. And we also taught them different ways to do things. So I'm going to bring up a short little video here.
While you do that, what we did for my mom, when she was concerned about slipping, those suction cup mats that go in a tub? We put one on the bathroom floor right outside of the tub, and it worked great for her.
That's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
Here's my little video. And a lot of times when people go to step in the tub, they step up so that they're really flexing their hip. And if you've had a total hip, you know that you're not supposed to flex your hip beyond 90 degrees. So I'm just going to demonstrate, if you're trying to step into a tub, and this is a really high tub, it's pretty high. Most tubs aren't this high, but this is a high one because this is kind of in like my spa bathroom. This is the one bathroom we actually redid. And because I wanted a tub to soak in. So anyway, here is my little video. And when you go to step in using your hip, see my hip is bending past 90 degrees. And it's not very safe to do that, especially after having a total hip. So if I turn around and there's like a post there, I can hold on to it and I just have to bend my knee and step in. And then I wouldn't have to bend my hip hardly at all. And then if I had a lawn chair in there, I could sit in there and use a handheld shower. There's lots of different ways that you can adapt that are very simple and don't cost a lot of money. And we have like a whole range here that we kind of looked at. And I think probably, Diane, your tub for your mom and dad was probably one of the more pricey things, but it's, it can be pretty basic. And it can just be having the space to be able to move around in a bathroom. Having too much clutter, having throw rugs are all things that when I would go out into people's homes, when I was doing home health, I would look and like, we've got to get rid of the throw rug. We've got to get rid of these other little things that could get in your way and be a little bit dangerous.
As we've said over and over with each person in each story that we've talked about, it depends on the person and depends on what they want. You know?
That tub was all important to my mom moving into a new home.
Get it.
I mean, it had been so many years since she could take a bath. And she said, that is the one thing I want back.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how amazing that they are watertight. And
Yes.
And that it could also accommodate your dad too, that he didn't have to build something else or whatever. So
yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Jess.
I have something. So I think almost everyone referenced those lips when you go into the bathroom, wood or whatever. So this was many moons ago, it feels like, that I got a call from a woman that I knew. She lived nearby town. She lived in one of the high rises. And she recently had to start using her wheelchair a good amount of the time. Her walker really wasn't working as well for her anymore. But she was having a heck of a time. The doorway was wide enough with the door on it, but she couldn't make the transition in her wheelchair. She didn't have enough to kind of oomph herself in her wheelchair over that threshold to get in. So they're like, Jess, do you have any ideas? I came over, I looked at it, I'm like, well, other than doing hardcore demo work and ripping out this beautiful marble threshold that's probably attached to the very being of this building and the whole place will collapse around it, I ran down to my car. So I had a pile of cardboard boxes. Now, not the perfect thing for a bathroom, but it worked in a pinch. And so I brought up a bunch of cardboard boxes, ripped them all down. And so imagine, I guess, my wallet I'm holding in my hand. It's a little thicker than the threshold, but what I did was I cut the cardboard down and I kind of build it up on one side in various levels of cardboard and build it down on the other side. Then I love duct tape. And then we just secured it from heaven to earth with duct tape. And it wasn't pretty, but it worked. And she did say, I checked back in with her. She said, it's working great. The only problem was because it was the bathroom and it was getting a lot of wear. She had to replace the duct tape about every 2 weeks. She had to have someone come in and do that. But she's like, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to work. So duct tape and cardboard enabled her to independently into her bathroom itself without needing any additional support for that. So that
And
was
how
kind of
cool knowing she could carry some cardboard and duct tape with her. So if she maybe is staying at a hotel or something, she could still get in and out of her.
right. Cardboard and duct tape. Yep.
It's amazing.
And I realized since then, so I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, gosh, it's not really that watertight, but they make this, and I can't think of the brand name of it, but it's this watertight, waterproof tape that you use to like seal holes in boats and seal anything up. If that would have been around then, and if I would have had that in my car, we would have used that. And that would have honestly probably been a permanent solution for her. That could have been removed, would she ever decide to move.
Amazing. Very cool.
Very cool. All wonderful ideas and wonderful examples of how you can adapt your bathroom for yourself, for your loved ones, for people you support. Simple, easy ways that you can do it. So I thank everyone for tuning in for our session on bathroom accessibility. So see you next time. Thank you.